Hi everyone, it's Darlene. Welcome back for another card video. Today's card is pretty quick and easy. I'm using this golden feather set by Altenew. I'm using just this blank one here. And I'm going to stamp it onto some Hero Arts craft paper. I rarely use this paper because it's a little bit darker than I like, and also it's a little thinner, but in this case I wanted something darker. So I'm going to stamp this in Subversive Fine Black Onyx ink, and then I'm going to sprinkle it with some clear embossing powder and heat it to set it so it's nice and shiny. And I'm going to stamp it onto some masking tape. I normally use a Post-it, but I ran out of those long Post-its. So I'm just using some masking tape, and I'll cut that out and place it on top of the feather I just stamped. And then I'm going to stamp the next one right next to it and up just a tiny little bit. And then I will remove the masking tape and sprinkle it with some clear embossing powder and heat that one to set it as well. There's a stamp in this set to stamp dots on the feather, but it's made for a different size feather. But I found that if I could just cover 2 of these dots, I could also use it for this thinner feather. So I'm going to take some surgical tape and I'm going to double up on it and cover just these 2 little dots that end up outside my feather when I stamp it. And then I will take some Versamark ink and ink up the whole thing. Then I'll take off my surgical tape, and then I'm going to place it over that front feather and stamp it down. Now this stamp is made for a feather that is a little bit shorter. So this feather is a little bit larger, like higher. So I did leave a little bit of some blank area at the bottom. So I went ahead and just masked off the edge and stamped one more of those dots at the bottom. Now I'm going to sprinkle this with some white embossing powder and heat it to set it. Now for my other feather, I wanted it to be stripes, these stripes right here, but those definitely did not fit this feather. So I'm going to manually recreate these using a Versamarker. So a Versamarker is just a marker pen that is the same ink as you find in a Versamark pad. And so they're really easy to use, and you can see it comes out really nice. I've had my marker for literally years and it's still going and works great. So I'm going to put my white embossing powder on there, and you can see how well it sticks to this Versamarker. Now the inside of my feather is the same color as my background, and so I felt like I wanted these feathers to stand out a little bit more. So I took a white colored pencil. This is a Prismacolor pencil. It has a very dull tip, so it's really easy to color large areas. You can still see a hint of the craft color behind the pencil, which is what I like about coloring this white. All right, so Mirror Mirror, this is by Ellen Hudson and has some great sentiments in it. So I found this one. This is Your Year. It's pretty different. I haven't seen that one before. So I'm going to stamp that in some Versamark ink, sprinkle it with some white powder, and then heat it to set it. I felt like I needed something extra for the card. Whenever I think that, I always go to splatters. So I'm going to add some splatters here. Many of you suggested that I use white acrylic paint for white splatters. I've been doing that and I really like this a lot. So I'm dropping a little bit on my craft mat. I'm going to mix it in with some water with this flat brush. And I'm trying to get a good balance here. You want enough water so that you get the splatters on the paper, but not too much that you dilute the white and it becomes transparent. So I kind of experiment with it a little bit. I got some water on my paper here, so I'll just clean off my barrel to make sure I don't have any spare water on there. And you can see now drops are starting to come out. And the acrylic paint really does keep them pretty opaque. All right, so I dropped some of those, and then for my black splatters, I'm going to use my Gonzai Tombi Black palette. It is my favorite for splatters for black. Same thing, just get a nice mix of water in there. It's best to start with little water. You'll get smaller dots, so you won't have these big globs that come out. And you can just kind of work your way as you add more water. So I'm going to put some ATG on the back of this panel and adhere it to some Nina Solar White cardstock, and then adhere that to a Hero Arts card base, which is white on the inside and black on the outside. And that's the card for today. So a little different for me. I normally don't make neutral cards, but I like the contrast of this card. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed that, and I will see you next time. Thanks for watching.